Hello. It's nearly Christmas. We're like a week away. And I didn't post last week because I've been sick. I'm mostly not sick now, but it really kind of hung on. It was a very mild sickness, but it's lasted over a week. And so I did a lot of just resting, staying in bed, you know, eating good healthy food as much as possible, lots of soups, doing a lot of gargling with salt water and just kind of staying in. But I did get up to some things here and there. So I can't remember if I mentioned just before I got sick, I went to a really wonderful recording of a song that I found out about through a WhatsApp group. Someone was looking for trans and non-binary musicians to add their voice to a song, and I ended up reaching out to the songwriter and we connected. I might have talked about this already, but anyways, so I went to that. That was super fun. I hadn't been in a recording studio in a while. It was really nice to sing collectively in a choir, and it was just really fun. Like we recorded the song, we ran through it a bunch of times, and then at the end we were just kind of being silly and recording things for the video. And part of that recording, by the end we were all lying on the floor, and in we were all kind of like arranged in a bit of a scramble. And so we were all singing our own parts from the floor. And I just remember lying on the ground and hearing, I was doing the alto, someone else was doing a soprano, someone else was doing sort of like a tenor, and we were all kind of lying next to one another. And it was just such a magical experience. And so now I just want, I want to have like this to be like a regular thing in my life, to have choral singing from the floor. It was a really wonderful experience. I don't know how I can really explain it, but I highly recommend giving it a try. And I ended up spending some time with them. Afterwards, we all went to a pub and hung out. And it turned out that one of the people that I was speaking with had just come back from Portugal, and I had been thinking that in the next few months I might visit Portugal, and so we had really nice connection going on, and so that was lovely. And then like the next day I met up with a friend and started reading this book called Walk Away, which they gave me. It's a fantastic book by a Canadian writer, which I didn't actually realize. So I just started reading it based off of the recommendation and the premise of it being sort of in this society where people have sort of walked away from the general way of life and basically formed an alternate society, an alternate reality. And as I was reading the first chapter, I was like, hold on, this is set in the GTA. Why is this set in Canada? And I looked at the publishing, and in the first few pages where it has like all the publishing information, and it was published in the UK, and I was like, why is there a UK published book set in Canada? And what I thought was really interesting was that being a Canadian writer and facing this next point in my life where I've nearly finished editing my book. It's nearly at the point. I mean, I'm like halfway done editing, but it'll go fast. It'll go fast. And so I'm looking into publishing, and I had the sense that a book that is set in Canada would be more likely to succeed outside of Canada because of that sense of romanticizing places that you don't live. And so I suspected that while I was in London, this would be a great time to be looking at publishing houses and trying to do that here. because I felt that there's a lot of romanticization of Canada specifically in London. Like I've noticed there's ads for going to Canada. A lot of people, every time I meet someone and they find out I'm from Canada, they'll, talk about how they love going on vacation there or if they've always wanted to. So I think there is a bit of a fantasy view of Canada from here that could work quite well in my favor if I were to publish here. So it's really interesting to then be reading a book published here, set in Canada, written by a Canadian. So I'm very eager to continue and to finish reading the book, and I might reach out to the author if see if I can get a response, but maybe ask for some guidance on that particular sort of element. So I've been reading Walk Away. It's been great. I love that it's very much steeped in the punk scene in Canada, and a lot of the, it's kind of like taking a lot of the conversations that I have had with people in the punk scene in Canada about creating, a better society and what kind of ground rules there should be. And it's in the book there's definitely like gift economy kind of approach where you're not just doing things and getting rewards for those things like in capitalism. You're doing things because you want to build something, you want to create something, and everything's sort of run on these programs, and so there's a lot of coding involved, which is kind of fun, having that sort of like hacker vibe. And they're trying to shift into a place of abundance rather than working from a place of lack, which is also really really enticing as a philosophy that a society is based off of. So I'm loving it. And when I was starting to get less sick, on the healing recovery path of the sick trajectory, I went out and had coffee with a friend who was leaving like a day or two after, because he's been in London but is from Canada, and yeah, we got to reconnect. He's landed a position in Oxford, like sort of a postdoc, I think, an internship, something like that. In I think it was Oxford. It might have been Cambridge, but outside of London, but in the UK. And so he's coming back in the spring. So it was good to see him before he left. We had some great conversations about cults and all sorts of things, really. And then we've been in, the last few days, we've been in sort of full moon time. So the full moon was Sunday, so we're now technically just out of the full moon period. Mercury is no longer retrograde. And so this past weekend, even though I was still kind of, blowing my nose a little bit, a little low energy, but I still wanted to enjoy the fact that it was a full moon. It was the last full moon of the year, and I ended up spending time with a friend of mine who was sick just before I was, so she was sort of more recovered than me, and we went out to a gay bar that was actually called the City of Quebec. And I had seen it months ago and thought, oh, I really want to check that out just for giggles, just as a former Quebecer, to go and see this City of Quebec, City of Quebec bar. And yeah, it was all right. I think it wasn't the most amazing thing in the world, but we had fun. We made the most of it. And before that, we had even more fun. wandering around central London, and there's a park that was just full of illuminated roses just glowing in the dark with the moon overhead, which was gorgeous. And then we went to the sort of main shopping areas with all the high-end stores like Cartier and Dior, and we walked through there. There was like all this like Chanel chandelier above the above the road, the intersection in the road, and just the really like extravagant Christmas displays were really spectacular. And yeah, we just really kind of basked in the excessive beauty of London at this time of year. And then, so after I stayed in central London with my friend, and the next day I had signed up to be a part of a Christmas market that I think I mentioned it in the last video, where I just kind of like wandered into this market and was like, what is this? And really clicked with the people that I met there. So I went back, I brought some tarot cards, I did some readings, and it was really cool. There were moments where I got a bit nervous about like, oh, am I going to be doing this right? Are people going to find value in this? And I found that when I relaxed, it was a really like striking experience to share with these people who were sitting in front of me and, you know, telling me about what they're going through. And I thought a few things. One, the cards were weirdly on point. Two, having this sort of like, you know, framing of a tarot reading, I think allowed people to really talk about things that maybe they don't often get to talk about, or that they just need to keep talking through. And so in a way it was kind of therapeutic, I think. You know, it opens the door for having those conversations and just being heard. So I did that, and I really enjoyed that experience. And then I went home. I've just been trying to take it easy, not push myself too much. And I'm nearing the end of my time in London, so I've been looking at going to different countries and traveling a little bit, but I haven't yet set anything up, so hopefully that will go well. I suspect it will. And I'm very excited for what the next few months will shape up to be. I was also recently reminded of, in a previous video, I had talked about this song called Bless the Telephone that I started learning, and I did not really continue learning it, but it's such a beautiful song. I re-listened to it, and I love it. So if you haven't listened to it yet, I highly recommend. I think the other music that I've gotten attached to this season, or I guess it was really through the fall, is Caroline Rose, who has a song called Feel the Way I Want to Feel, and I have listened to that song an obscene amount of times. It's my go-to feel-good song of the season. So if you haven't listened to that, I highly recommend it. I think that's it for me. I hope you're doing well. I hope that this season is less stressful than it has been. If you're in Canada, there's a few things that I'm sending to Canada when the strike is over, but I'm not sure when that will be. So gifts to family will be late. They will not arrive for Christmas, I don't think. That's okay. Things can be late. Yeah, I hope you're okay. I hope you're doing all right. I've been hearing from people that I haven't heard from in a while, which has been really nice. And I hope that continues. I love hearing from people and seeing what they're up to, and since we last spoke. Anyways, I got myself some treats, so I'm going to go enjoy those. And I'll talk to you later.